So I've made it no secret over my career in YouTube that I'm a big John Mayer fan. The John Mayer song, the beautiful John Mayer song. My favourite guitarist of all time, John Mayer. And I've listened to all of his albums through enough times, insert my Spotify hours. I even wrote college essays about his discography, so I like to think I have a good idea of the tracks that represent his best work and the ones that don't, and the ones that are just there to get more listens from other fan bases. And I think you all know the ones I'm talking about. A lot of people are not John Mayer fans, and this video is not designed to change minds. He's known for his overtly pop songs like Your Body is a Wonderland and Daughters, and he's had lots of bad press over the years. But I've always been a fan of musicians troubled by the limelight, and many artists, it only makes their songs stronger. And as a guitarist, I've always been drawn to his ridiculous skills. I mean, just listen to Eric Clapton praise him.
His facility is phenomenal. He is a master. He doesn't even, I don't think he even knows how good he is.
So that being said, I'm going to try and rank all of John Mayer's songs from best to worst, but this is my list. I'm not going to tell you you should feel the same way. And just to put this on the table right away so you don't think I'm going super obvious, neither Gravity nor Slow Dancing will be number one, so keeping you on your toes. And with his new album Sob Rock coming out this week, it seemed like a good idea to finally finish making this video. I'm not going to get into specifics of what I think counts as a John Mayer song because he has lots of tracks beyond just his studio albums, but I think you know it when you hear it. And I won't count produced stuff, so as great as these songs are, they don't count. Sorry, Bittersweet, in this historic clip.
This was 40?
That means he's way more stuntastic.
Oh yeah. Go back and listen to Daughters, bitches.
But I'll include some stuff where Mayer is either officially featured or just seems to have a lot more to do with the song directly, like Alicia Keys' Lesson Learned or Frank Ocean's White. But I won't include every single one unless they're particularly interesting, whether good or bad. Also, I'm going to include some unreleased tracks if I think they're particularly noteworthy. So there, we good? 113. I don't think many will disagree with this, but Say is by far Mayer's most boring, uninteresting track. It was made for a film that no one remembers, and it's lyrically John's weakest. Half of My Heart is just a milquetoast fan service song produced to bring in Taylor Swift fans, and as both a Mayer fan and a Kanye fan, I have a pretty negative disposition towards her. Also, it just doesn't really fit the vibe or tone of the whole album, Battle Studies anyway. A Face to Call Home is a song that has never grabbed me personally. It feels like a song that could have been written by any other folk artist. Fall Out Boy's Beat It featuring John Mayer, it's a cover that just doesn't really work and feels kind of half-assed. Not Myself is kind of just generic pop in my opinion. Great Indoors, pretty much the same. Come Back to Bed, easily the worst track off of Heavier Things, just feels like it's trying too hard to be a romantic love song and comes off really bland. WILDFIRE Reprise, Frank Ocean. Please don't think I'm putting this track so low because I think it's bad, because I really like the song for what it is and I adore Frank Ocean, but it's not a Mayer song, and at only a minute 26 seconds it feels like incredibly wasted potential. Bold as Love. John played a lot of Hendrix covers in his career, and to me this is probably the weakest. I far prefer his live versions. Come When I Call is a John Mayer trio song that is trying really hard to sound like a classic blues rock song, and while it does do that really well, and it's got some really fine blues guitar, that's sort of all it does. St. Patrick's Day has some great chords, and it's a really nice acoustic pop song. It's just overly long for its own good. Neon 12:47 AM is the weird jazzy electronic version of Neon, and frankly one listen to this is enough because it just makes you want to listen to the regular version. The bonus track off Born and Raised, Fool to Love You, is kind of an odd song. It's slow but also bouncy and jovial. It's weird, no real complaints, but nothing too special to be honest. 100. Your Body is a Wonderland is the song that both made John's career yet also continues to ruin his reputation as a guitarist. The lyrics are bad, they're bad, and his singing is emblematic of all acoustic chart toppers of the era, but the instrumentals are nice, the hook is catchy, and the jazz break at the end is honestly fantastic. Definitely overhated, but he does use the phrase "one pair of candy lips and bubblegum tongue." I think it's a good time to mention, one, that all of this video is just my personal opinion. I actually encourage you to listen to all of these songs and disagree with me. And 2, that I don't really dislike any of these songs, but unfortunately some songs have to be at the bottom of the list when you're ranking them. So me dissing them is just being extra critical for the sake of the video. 99. I don't really know why, but Do You Know Me has always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Whether it's the singing or the lyrics, I don't know. Another trio song, Try, has kind of a lame riff and no particularly outstanding guitar. Love Is a Verb, just kind of a bland poppy love song, but it's still pretty pleasant. Who You Love with Katy Perry is a pretty nice song that does get too much hate among the fan base, but lyrically is really boring. Although their singing could have been a much better duet if it was better written. Carry Me Away is a great jovial tune and the lyrics and instrumentals fit perfectly, but I felt for a while that there's a lot more that could be added to this song. Although after hearing the newer version of it released for Sob Rock, I have to say it sounds a lot better and it could easily be higher on this list. I don't know quite what they did to it, but the mix just sounds so much better. I don't really know why, but Bigger Than My Body has always been a weird song for me. I love the hook and the more rock tone, but John's singing on the chorus just a little annoying. Go Easy On Me, great soft song, but a little too vacant. Heart of Life. This might upset a lot of people that I'm putting it this low, but it feels like it should have either had more production behind it or it should have been an acoustic song. And even John has admitted that the slap style doesn't really fit. All We Ever Do Is Say Goodbye. Battle Studies has some kind of empty sounding songs, but this is still a great sad breakup song. One For My Baby. Just a fun lounge song to vibe to. I don't really have any complaints about it. Never On The Day You Leave is a very emotional song for John, but it's definitely my personal least favourite track for The Search For Everything, though it is still cool to see him do something other than guitar instrumentally. Love Soon is a pretty fun song, but it feels super underproduced and I can see why it didn't make it to Room for Squares. I'm going to put Only Heart here because besides a cool main riff and a nice rock driven diversion to the rest of the album, there's not much to talk about. Call Me The Breeze, similar to Boulder's Love, it's a decent cover for what it is, but I think the original version is just so much better. Inside Friend is a great collaboration between him and Leon Bridges, but could have better reflected their best qualities. As fun as Waiting on the World is, I think everyone can agree, it's pretty easy to get sick of it. Back to You, I just think he has plenty of other songs that are similar enough, but much better. Lesson Learned, a really nice Alicia Keys song where John's sensibilities are really allowed to flourish, making it way more enjoyable. Whiskey Whiskey Whiskey, again a song where I just think there are others that he's done that are similar enough but do a better job. 80. Speak For Me has some great acoustic picking, really nice la-di-da vocals, and I always love the pre-chorus. Friends, Lovers or Nothing is a great soft rock performance, but it's a great example of his very on-the-nose lyrical writing and titling of his songs. Whether you see that as a good or bad quality is up to you, but I tend to go back and forth on it. Taking On Water is another unreleased song which is really nice but leaves something to be desired, being that it was never finished. If I ever get around to living, a pretty unique song on Born and Raised with some really nice Americana style guitar licks. Another kind of green, dope opening, but for me the rest of the song doesn't quite go as hard. Quiet is a great, really soft song off of Inside Wants Out, and it feels like a raw acoustic demo tape, which is pretty nice to hear among his more polished stuff. I'm On Fire is a pretty great rendition of a Bruce Springsteen song and changed it up enough to make it feel like its own. Perfectly Lonely is another great song. It's got some great rock guitar elements, but what lets it down is John's incredibly tongue-in-cheek writing. Something's Missing, I feel wants to be more emotional and deep of a song than it actually is. Love Song for No One is just a really fun song with a really catchy hook that'll end up stuck in your head for hours. Why Georgia is probably one of his most iconic riffs off the Room for Squares album, and I don't really have a complaint about the song, I just think there are others on the album that are just way more fun. 69, nice. White off of Frank Ocean's Channel Orange is basically just a short solo guitar performance from John. 3x5, a song kind of about living life in the moment, and even though it's still got that airy singing a lot of old Mayer songs have, I actually think it complements the instrumentals really well here. Wheel is another song that I don't have anything to complain about, I just think they could have done a bit more with it. Out of My Mind is a perfect slow blues jam if ever there was one. Superposition is a great example of John's musical sensibilities complementing another artist perfectly without getting in the way of their own performance. I Will Be Found is a song that feels really powerful but gets a little lost among some of the other songs on Paradise Valley. Dear Marie, a fantastic, intimate sounding acoustic song about a relationship before he became famous. It's a nice little insight into John's life. Waiting on the Day, similar to Dear Marie, but it's a bit more upbeat with, I think, much better production. Victoria is just a great intimate acoustic song. New Deep is a great song and I love the guitar tone in it. So by this point in the list, all the songs from here on out could probably be 10 out of 10s, but again, for the sake of ranking them, I'm going to be extra critical. 59. Hotel Bathroom Song is great for being an unreleased song, and if it ever got recorded for a studio album, they could probably do some super cool stuff with it. Something Like Olivia has a lot to like, but I weirdly prefer the acoustic version. Home Life is one of the coolest songs off of Heavier Things, but the whole album as a whole has the issue of a lot of songs being just a tiny bit too long. Crossroads is a great rock and roll blues cover that is one of my favourite versions of the song. Assassin. To be honest, the whole of Battle Studies suffers from slightly corny lyrics, which is probably his biggest strength and weakness, and this is probably one of the worst offenders. But I love the war theme throughout it, and the instrumentation of this one is fucking awesome. Comfortable is a pretty much perfect slow song, and I love the strings that come in throughout. Dreaming with a Broken Heart, like a lot of songs off of Continuum, I have nothing to complain about. It simply doesn't quite do it for me as much as other songs. City Love, a really fun pop song. Covered in Rain, figured I'd pair these two up. It's a really long blues ballad with possibly one of John's greatest guitar solos of all time. By the way, I actually recommend the As Is Philly version over Any Given Thursday, but either way. Queen of California is just an all-around solid country song and is a perfect opening song for the album. For some reason, You're No One Till Someone Lets You Down holds a really special place in my heart, even though I realise a lot of people aren't going to like this one. I just think it's so fun and upbeat. No Such Thing is such a classic song at this point with a really great and catchy chorus. My Stupid Mouth is another great song that has a lot of John's own personality pouring into it. Heartbreak Warfare is another perfect opener for its respective album and perfectly sets up the theming of the album and the overall tone. You're Gonna Live Forever in Me is a really nice song that demonstrates John's versatile vocal range and instrumental range. Magnolia is a beautiful rendition of another J.J. Cale song off of Eric Clapton's tribute album, and I actually prefer it to the original. Sorry, JJ. Who Did You Think I Was is another pretty much perfect rock blues song from the John Mayer trio. Simple Song is, as stated, a simple song. It's just fantastic as a short little song that he wrote exclusively for himself, and it sounds like it. Every Day I Have the Blues, another cover that is somehow better than the original, even if it is from one of the guitar goats. WILDFIRE is just so jovial and energetic, and it's perfect for summertime. EXO is John Mayer's cover of Beyonce's song, and it's so completely different to her version, but they complement each other so well. Hummingbird, the collab with BB King, two of the greatest to ever do it. It's just amazing, purely for the novelty of these two doing a track together. Born and Raised is another really intimate song that feels like it expresses where John was at mentally when he wrote the album as a whole. I've been pretty neglectful to the search for everything on this list because frankly it's my favourite album, so all the songs in it are going to be pretty highly for me. But Rosie is one of the weaker songs, mainly lyrically. Who says? Lots of people may get mad that this isn't a top 10, and I'm sorry, but this is my list, and as much as I love the thumb guitar slap, the whole vibe of the song, some of the lyrics can kind of turn me off a little bit, but it's still pretty high on this list compared to a lot of other songs. Shadow Days. I just kind of love the theming of this song, and John's vocal performance and the guitar is sparse, but it's perfect for this song. Born and Raised Reprise is such a great switch up on this album. It brings in a much more energetic element that was really needed for a last track. Paper Doll has one of my favourite opening guitar licks, and I still don't think it's actually about Taylor Swift specifically. I think it's about his relationship with women in general, but he makes some clear references to her. I Don't Trust Myself with Loving You. Like I've said earlier, no complaints, but there's nothing in particular that stands out to me from the rest of the album, even though it is fantastic in all its elements. Belief. It's really interesting to see a song with this kind of tonality to it from Mayer, but I do love it and it makes it really unique to the rest of Continuum. Helpless. Kind of similar to Belief in a way. A really unique track among their respective albums, and it's fun to hear that harsher tone. Daughters, just incredibly nice and incredibly iconic.
Go back and listen to Daughters, bitches.
On the Way Home has some ridiculously cool moments and fills throughout it, like the harmonica, piano backing, acoustic and electric slide. Just great. 83 hits me in a different way to the rest of Room for Squares. Whether it's the hook or how it thematically works, it's just really great. Theme from The Search for Everything. It's an absolutely beautiful little guitar piece that really captures the spirit of the album. I'm Gonna Find Another You has one of my favourite intros of any song ever, and it's just a great slow blues jam. War of My Life has such an interesting tonality to it, and for me it stands out from the rest of the album. I'm going to get so much hate for this not being top 2, but Slow Dancing in a Burning Room. I know it's beautiful and I know the tone is amazing, but frankly this is my personal list, and I think he has a lot of songs that are just better. Vultures. I don't really know what to say about this song, I just really like it. Good Love Is On The Way. This is probably the best rock blues song that John's ever done a live performance of, and I don't think it gets enough credit compared to the rest of the Where the Light Is songs. Right, so before I uploaded this, I realised I had forgotten to include clarity somehow. So I'm going to slot it in around 20, so just push everything back. Sorry if you really care about the numbering of this list, but I don't. Love on the Weekend. There's a large section of fans who really despise this song, and I know it is overtly pop, but it's such a warm and inviting song, I just kind of love it. Age of Worry is so pleasant of a song that I find myself listening to a lot more these days, and it holds up really well compared to the rest of Born and Raised. Stop This Train, it's got this amazing acoustic resonance to the whole thing, it's sensitive and intimate, and it's fantastic. 16, In Your Atmosphere, really unique, some of his most interesting guitar melodies. Still Feel Like Your Man really gets you into his headspace of where he was at when making this album and sets up perfectly the rest of the Search for Everything. Split Screen Sadness, another weird song that deters so greatly from the rest of the album with some kind of synth styles, but it just works so well. Badge and Gun, another song that some people may disagree with, but I have a really soft spot in my heart for. In the Blood is a song that I've connected with quite strongly ever since I first heard it. Lyrically, it's possibly one of my favourite songs ever. Roll On Home is almost like all of John's worst sensibilities rolled up to make a really interesting song. It's corny yet also has this niche presence. It's fun but a little sad too, and it can definitely be off-putting to some people. But it's such a warm sounding song, I just have to love it. So I'm going to cheat a little here and go with the joint position because I wanted to put both of these in my top 10. But New Light and I Guess I Just Feel Like. The former for how unique and comically cheesy it is, and the latter for those two solos and basically perfectly encapsulating the blues. As much as New Light is a comical parody, it's also a weirdly introspective song about his status as a celebrity and how he views himself. So if I had to put one above the other, it would be that one. Edge of Desire, an amazing display of John's ability and an incredibly sensual song. In Repair, the idea of making a song in a day is really fascinating to me, and it's not like he's the first to do it, obviously, but this is such a great example of it. With these three artists, John, Steve Jordan, and Charlie Hunter coming together to make a track, this just feels so genuine. Neon, but I'll include the caveat that this is only going from the Where the Light Is version. Both are great, but I think most would agree that that's the truest version of the song. Changing. It's just an awesome song with really intimate lyrics that I love. It feels pretty universal for anyone to connect with despite how personal it sounds. Also, it has one of my all-time favourite Mayer solos. Man on the Side is probably the biggest letdown in that it never got a studio release. It's got the complexity of a Hendrix song and the heart of a Stevie Ray Vaughan song, and it's just amazing. Walt Grace's Submarine Test, January 1967. It's really interesting to see an artist like this try and tell a story with an actual plot through a song, and the general nautical vibe of the tune works incredibly well. 3. Emoji of a Wave, probably John's greatest combination of acoustic guitar and singing. 2. Gravity. There's not much more to say about Gravity that people haven't already said. It's perfect and similar to Edge of Desire in that it's a perfect shower song. 1. Moving On and Getting Over is the best John Mayer song. It's the song that most perfectly encapsulates him as an artist, not just across his discography, but through his life. It's soft and sweet, but demonstrates his insanely good guitar skills. It's intimate and romantic, but without being cheesy or too corny. And it's amazing punchy guitar solos and has a perfect MJ Prince fade out that sounds like this song could just keep going on forever. So yeah, that about does it. This was really hard to make, and I'm probably going to want to change it as soon as I upload it. If you think differently, please leave it in the comments or at me on Twitter so we can argue. Seriously, I want you guys to disagree with me. And if you'd like to see me do one of these or on another artist, let me know. I have a podcast you can check out, The Matt and Ryan Show, and you can look up my nudes online. Cool.